In this podcast, we have mostly focused on the unknown entities that surround our country. However, I think it's about time we learned more about the spirits, elementals, and urban legends that collectively frighten our neighbors in Southeast Asia. Our special guests tonight are similar to us, that they collect tales from different people around Singapore. Tales they have documented in ghost maps. Stories of the Pontianak, the Penanggalan, and wayward spirits that haunt Lion City. Tonight we compare notes, share our favorite stories, and hopefully have a deeper understanding of the spirits in Southeast Asia. Enjoy. Okay, good evening, everyone. We have our guests already here, so I'll have them on. Okay.
Hello.
Hello,
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 hello. Good
hello.
evening. Good evening. So guys, first of all, thank you for agreeing to
No,
join
I'm
us
happy.
and taking the time out of your day to share stories with us. We have here Sam. Before we started, I was telling Kyle and Wayne about the people we've been talking to, and Sam is one of them. Sam is, you could say, ability person that we've had as a guest, and he's seen some things which you might be interested to learn about soon. But yes, he is one of the people who has the experience in Tampines. Sam, is that right? In the Tampines station?
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Nice.
So maybe later we'll have you tell Kyle and Wayne that story. Okay. Just to scare them a bit. Okay. Yeah.
Dude, see, when you say scare us a little bit, also we're like, I'm not gonna say that. Oh no, we're all hands at this, but also at the same time, the thing is, if I was gonna say that, that's just asking for it. Like, oh yeah, no, we're okay. Then you'll say something, and then we're like, oh god, oh no, so dark.
But we've actually heard some of the stories you've said, of course, on your podcast and your scary experiences. But for us here, usually in the podcast, in the paranormal podcast, we kind of like to learn of the origin stories from the different people we've talked to. And I'm not sure if you're open to talk about that for both of you. What was your let's say origin story? Why did you start uh, immersing yourself in the this world?
Wow.
We're giggling like this because like it's at this point in time, it's like, okay, which one of us is gonna go first on this one?
Yeah. No, I mean, for a start, I would like to thank you all for reaching
Yes.
out and inviting us to be on show. And we've always been big fans of Philippine horror stories as well.
Yeah.
Being Southeast Asians,
Yeah.
I've heard some
Oh,
pretty terrifying ones.
okay.
Yeah. So as for origin story, I think I'll let Wayne start.
I see what you did there. You set up the preamble there after you let me
Yeah.
start. Okay. Between the two of us, Kyle's the bigger, has the stronger interest in horror. Like, prior to us starting Ghost Maps, if you asked me to tell you the difference between like the different horror around Southeast Asia, I'd be like, they're all scary. And then somebody will go, shh, you're not worth talking to. But no, we both, I think where we had our common interest was that we both came from a time where this oral tradition of telling ghost stories was still quite strong.
Yes.
And we remember when we were kids, I'm saying this as if we're the same age, but clearly I'm the older one. I remember when we were both younger, we knew that there'll always be like a friend or a friend of a friend or a friend of a friend of a friend who'll have some kind of horror story that they wanted to share, and we felt like the wonderful thing about that was the sense that we got from it was that these weren't just ghost stories. They were, eventually we realized they're kind of part of our culture, and we don't just mean like Singaporean culture, we mean like Southeast Asia
Yes.
as a whole. I think that's the one thing pretty much every country in Southeast Asia has in common, like that it's I hesitate to use the word love, but almost a familiarity with these ghost stories. And we felt like that was kind of not dying out, but a lot less than when we were kids.
Yeah.
So I'm a writer, and Kyle is, I mean, he's primarily a director, but Kyle, you've literally, your resume is way longer than mine. He does video editing and he does all that, and we wanted to collaborate on something, and we figured that was probably, it's the one that made the most sense, and that's how Ghost Maps came about, and that's why it's specifically a podcast also, because
Yeah.
we felt like, if we're going to continue the oral traditions of telling ghost stories, we might as well do it in audio as well. So I think in terms of Ghost Maps, that's our collective origin.
Yeah.
If you meant like our origin in terms of the kind of supernatural stuff we've encountered, then that one I'm going to pass over to Kyle to go first.
Nice. That's why I chose Wayne to start off, because he always does it really well. So for me, I mean, couple of weeks ago we were just looking at some of my really cringe-worthy film college works, and at least 80% of them were horror. And I haven't started Ghost Maps. Like,
Yeah.
that was way back, right? So
Oh my god, yeah.
so I've realized that actually throughout my whole life, I've always been fascinated by the occult. I have my own personal experience, of course, but like I've always been into horror for some weird reason. I can't say when, because there's pockets of time where I was really into horror and not. But now it's like the only thing that I consume and I want to make, right? So I guess, that's pretty much sums up.
Yeah. I think the only thing I'll add on to that was, unlike Carl, like I said, I wasn't really the horror guy before. 2 years ago, like I wasn't the horror guy, and then now everybody's like, "Hey, yeah, so you're the guy that does a lot of the horror stuff." I was like, I swear this all started purely almost by accident.
Yep.
So it's been 2 years since we started Ghost Maps. It's still strange to me whenever somebody goes, "Hey, we need a horror writer to talk about this thing." I'm like,
Yeah.
What horror writer are you talking about? And they're like, "Oh, you." Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So here in the Philippines, I'm not sure if it's the same thing. I'm pretty sure kind of it is. They say that the more you talk about these elements and these spirits and these entities, the more you attract them. And I would have these guys who I've talked to and these girls I've talked to, that it is true. Sometimes while we are talking with each other, since some of them can see, they will see someone pass by behind one of them, and they will see orbs, or especially for Sam. I'm not sure if it's there, Sam, right now, but that happens. So, given that you guys record this and you guys talk about it on your Dead Air podcast, have you experienced anything while recording?
Oh yeah, for sure. So this was it last year? I think it was last year.
It was last year.
So we were recording in the studio, with the narrator. So
Okay.
Like a proper
Oh,
studio,
the famous narrator, yes.
the famous narrator, right?
Yes.
So he's in the recording booth, right? So we're separated, and this is a studio that is relatively new, and so there were three of us, and we were discussing like the content itself while he's like narrating his lines. And I always make it a point to create the mood, like what you see on the screen right now.
Yeah.
So and out of nowhere, we are very, very far from the light switch.
Yeah.
The light dims. Not by a little, like by at least 70%.
Yes.
And we were like, the three of us just stare at each other.
Yeah.
And the narrator's still going because it didn't affect him. And then I was like, faulty switch. So I just walked over and switch it back on.
Yeah.
I know it's a very Asian thing when it happens. You don't
Yes.
address it
Yeah.
because you
Yes.
don't want it to, do anything else. So I'm like, yeah, faulty. Then a couple of weeks later, some of the guys who are in charge of the studio, they said that there's a relatively mischievous old man spirit that likes to disturb people when they're in production, because that whole space there's like video production, green screen rooms, and audio editing suites. So yeah,
Yeah, I remember the moment that happened, and it was one of those perfect moments where light dims, and then suddenly the conversation just stops,
Yes.
and then we all just look at each other, and it's clear that one of us is waiting for like one of us to say it, and like, yeah, it's nothing. So thankfully, Carl was clearly and famously the braver of the lot. And he went, yeah, it's nothing. It's just faulty wiring. And then he
Yeah.
goes and he switches it. We're like,
Yeah.
It's brave for you to still continue after that.
I don't know if it was bravery or we have to finish this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think is a kind of like strength after a while. After even for people who can see, you've seen so many, right? You felt so many to the point whereby you don't really feel it anymore unless it's something that's like super evil or whatever, right? So I think for me, at least, I was pretty much used to it. And I'm in the film industry, so a lot of weird things happen in the film industry. So we're like, as long as it doesn't become malicious or possess anybody, just let it be.
I think I've got way less experience than Kyle does, but I mean, just going back to what we were saying in terms of how it's similar across Southeast Asia where you don't talk about it.
Yes.
It's just one of those things where you kind of like, even though it's not, I mean, nothing. Thankfully, nothing super serious has happened to me before, and
Don't
yeah.
like don't jinx it.
Fingers crossed that it will continue to be this way.
If you see Sam's eyes like suddenly like
he's
dart
like-
across the room, he's like, oh my god, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, you
something.
might be seeing something there. Sam, just
I keep
say it,
that-
So is there
Back to-
anything there?
Sam,
Nothing.
you're not hearing.
It's too dark. It's too dark for me to see. It's okay. You're safe.
Okay.
You're safe.
Because I keep looking at you, Sam, and I'm like, okay, is he
Yeah.
reacting to anything that's going on?
Yeah.
Because if his eyes just go wide, I'm like, oh no.
Yep.
No,
Or
no,
he-
no, not at all.
Okay.
I'm just literally like listening to you guys and thinking that we do have the same qualities. Well, at least the normal people does. Like if something creepy happens, let's not talk about it and stuff like that. But unfortunately, for someone like me, it's like, okay, what do you need? Let's get it over with. Come on, talk to me so we can just finish this already. Yeah.
I can understand. Yep.
Yeah, Kyle could probably relate more to that one than I can. But yeah, but it's one of those things like when something like that happens, he's just like, that happened. Okay, just keep going. Yeah.
Kyle, I've heard it in one of your, I think it was in one of your Dead Air podcasts that you mentioned. Again, you can't, if you don't want to go into detail about it, because
Sure.
you don't go into detail about it, but you mentioned that you've had, you've experienced or you've seen possession,
Yeah.
and you were there in the room also.
Yeah.
We've heard several stories about possessions also, and we just want to make sure that across the seas, does it also are the same beliefs actually practiced as well? So is it the same for you? That have you heard that advice that if you choose not to be possessed, you will not be possessed? Would you be-
yes. But I mean, just for context, right? Singapore is a multicultural
Yes.
country, so there's a lot of different form of faith. Like the larger ones are Islam, Christianity, as well as Buddhism and Taoism. So it's very varied, but everyone knows each other's faith well in a way.
Yes.
So it's kind of blended. But I've heard of that as well. I think it more stands for more of the Western point of view. It's more pure sheer willpower. But Singapore has like almost 70% Chinese, so it's more swaying towards the Buddhist or Taoism possession. But of course, like whichever faith has that spirit possessing, you use whichever faith to solve, like, or you're from that religion itself, right? Usually that's the case. You default to your own religion.
Yeah.
But I've heard stories of cross religion exorcism as well. It
Wow.
kind of works. Yeah. I don't know. I think maybe might want to know double fact check with Sam on that.
This is
But-
new to me.
Yeah, it can't. I've not seen it.
Oh,
I've
okay,
heard
okay.
of it,
Yeah, alright, okay.
but it kind of works because religion is still religion.
Yeah.
Like your God is still powerful, right? In that sense.
Yes.
Yeah, but for the one that I saw, the killer point where I know that okay, this is real, this is shit, was when I'm not gonna go into details because I can't really tell
Yes.
about the story.
Yes.
But
of course.
is when this guy is being possessed and the two of us are trying to solve it. And there's this passerby, walking past. And in Singapore, because we are so secular in a sense whereby when you see that happening, you immediately the first thought, this guy's drunk, right?
Yeah.
And you're gonna call the cops, and then he's probably gonna get locked up. We want to avoid that to our friend. So I told the passerby, no, he's just drunk. And I don't know this guy, but this guy's like, I have the third eye, I can see. He's not drunk. It's something else. And immediately I was like, oh shit. Because going into it, I was like, okay, he's probably drunk, right? Like I
Yeah.
didn't really fully believe it, but it was him who said that line that made me like, oh yeah, it's real. Yeah.
So was the other guy with you? Does he have a third eye as well?
No,
Because
no,
they said
no.
that there were two of you. Oh no, okay.
Yeah, he's religious. He's very
Oh.
spiritually strong. So yeah.
So he's also the same guy you bring along when you record stuff in the.
Sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah. He's a very close friend.
Right,
So
okay.
I can count on him.
Okay.
But he will have random outbursts of, hey Carl, let's go to the cemetery at 2 a.m. Let's go. I'm like, no. If I'm not filming ghost maps, no.
I like how there's always somebody who's braver than the other person, because like
Yes.
Carl's always like telling me like, oh, you should come join me, because Carl's the one that films all the, I mean, I
Yes,
don't know
yes.
how many people know, but Carl's the one that films the visuals for our Ghost Map episode on YouTube, and it's always these creepy places. I mean, if anybody's seen the episode, you can tell this is not the kind of place you want to go to at night. Sometimes you don't even want to go down there late in the afternoon. And the first couple of episodes, Carl was always, hey, you want to follow me? I'm like, no. Hell no. I appreciate what you do. You have fun. And he's more or less stopped asking.
Yeah.
Although we have actually told our followers that if we reach certain like social media numbers, then I'll have no choice but to follow him anyway.
Yep.
Oh yes, that was you're gonna film in a cemetery, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know
exciting.
why I agreed to this.
It's gonna be
Wasn't
fun.
it you who suggested it?
No.
It was me. It was me.
It's always
Oh, okay, okay.
It's never me.
Yeah,
who
it's
suggests
always
it.
me, right? I'll make sure you get protected, right? So
Thanks.
don't worry about it. Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll be fine.
Oh, I will send, because we have heard we have had several guests who have meditation or some practices you can do to protect yourself. I'm not
Yeah.
sure if you've heard of those, using the white
Okay,
light
great.
or using different talismans.
I'm so sorry for what's happening to our beloved Nick. What's happening to your connection?
Did I
Uh,
stop?
anyways,
I'm still here.
No.
While we're
I think
waiting
it's Sam.
for Nick
Yeah.
to come back,
Yeah,
uh,
Sam, I think it's your connection.
is it
Yeah,
me?
Sam, you're the one that's frozen, because I was
Yeah,
very.
you're frozen.
Yeah.
Okay, you're back.
You're back.
'Cause-
Oh, yeah,
I was like, what's going on? Why do I hear Sam's voice but he's not moving?
yeah.
No, I think it's the internet.
Oh, there
Yes.
we go.
Yep.
Okay. Yes, Sam, you're right. Which will segue me to introduce another one of our past guests who can see also, just in case he can see over there. He can
Sure.
see stuff over there. So this is JP.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, JP.
Hi,
Yes.
JP.
He can. He's also worked actually in Singapore, right, JP?
Nice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I worked and studied in NTU, so I kind of know the Ulu area there.
Oh yeah, NTU is pretty haunted, right?
Yep.
Yeah, really
Fun
is.
times.
Even going from Jurong Point to NTU, it's like okay, especially during Ghost Month.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
It's a
Like,
fun time, right?
Yeah, I had friends who studied on it. I mean, I never, like, nothing ever happened to me at NTU itself, but just, because, like, I had friends who studied on it, so I always visit them and we'll hang out and everything. And then driving back, it's always like, how am I going to get out of here? And how do I get out of here without anything happening to me?
Do you
It's
mind if I
hard
ask?
also to get a taxi from like the center. If you tell them
Yeah.
you're going NTU, they're like, really? Yeah,
You going NTU? You sure? It's like,
Yeah.
yes.
I
Do
always
you
get
mind?
that.
Do you mind if I ask a question real quick?
Sure.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So JP, you have the site, right? So
Yes.
how was it like when you experienced your first Hungry Ghost Month in Singapore?
Oh my gosh.
Okay,
yeah.
so just to give you a background on myself, like I practice Hungry Ghost Month. Like
Oh, okay.
here in Manila, I'm considered Chinese Filipino, but really my roots in China aren't from the Han Chinese side. We're from the Nasi tribe. I don't know if you know them, but they're sort of Tibetan. You can find them in Huinam province.
Mm.
And it's really nature based and a mix of Buddhist. So I understand the whole Taoist Buddhist side aspect of things. And then living in Manila, I practice the folk beliefs.
Mm.
So yeah.
So he's a bit of a he's a bit of an amalgam of the different cultures he's been raised
Interesting.
with. So he
Yeah.
has yeah. He's
So
a crossbreed, yeah.
so it wasn't a shock, right, when you started
It
seeing
wasn't a
spirit.
shock. Like the shocking part was that I had to explain it to my Filipino friends, like what's happening, why they're burning all these stuff. I'm like, oh, it's that time of the month, that time of the year, that time of the month. Yeah.
But you can see them collecting.
Yeah.
Man.
What are they
No, like
collecting? What are they
no, like really
collecting?
when you can see
Cash.
them even in the
Ah,
performances in the temples, like
Yeah.
those first two rows.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can
yeah.
see them there.
The cash, the iPhones, they have everything
Yeah.
now, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
Lamborghini,
mm,
BMW.
Last I
Wow.
heard, they were burning vaccines as well.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's a new thing, huh?
yeah.
I was actually surprised. We had a guest who was he's a feng shui master. He's a feng shui master, and are you guys okay? He's a feng
Yeah,
shui
yeah.
master, and then he here we in the Philippines. I'm not sure if you've heard of this or you maybe you've heard of this in Singapore, but here we have the belief of elementals. So these are nature spirits.
Yeah.
There are tree elementals, water elementals, earth elementals, mountain elementals, and someone asked him to cleanse a school because there were weird things happening,
Hmm.
and so he felt because he apparently because he's a feng shui master, he also has a sensitivity. The third eye, it's open,
Yeah.
and he felt that this big tree trunk was causing all the chaos. So he told three people, "Okay, just move that piece of tree trunk and move it to the back." And then after they moved it, three people moved it. One of the people who moved it came back to him angry with an angry face, and he said, "Oh, something's in him." And it approached him and it said, "Why are you making us leave? We were here longer than all of you." And it was shouting at him, it was angry at him. So for us, it was elemental. I have a feeling it was an elemental. And since he's a feng shui master, he kept telling them, "No, you have to go. No, you have to go." And they wouldn't go. And then he thought, "Oh, maybe I could bargain with them." And he told them, "Okay, I'll burn money for you." So the way that kind of twisted my idea for human spirits and elementals, because the concept of burning money is for, I'm assuming, human spirits. In It's a Chinese belief, right? So it's for human spirits, but the elemental paused and then said, "Okay, how much?" And then it agreed, and then it left the body of that person who it possessed. So I was shocked, thinking, how can the concept of burning money work for an elemental, which wasn't related to any belief with a feng shui or for Chinese belief. So again, that was a real weird experience. I mean, story for us. I'm not sure if you've heard anything like that before.
I mean, it's what you look like you wanted to say something, but
No, I mean, elemental. We don't call it elemental here.
Mhm.
I can't say that I'm very familiar, but I've heard of it. Like even in Singapore, right? There are spirits in they are neutral. They are not like
yeah.
Yes.
evil or good. So they are spirits of forest or like a certain area, right? So
Yeah.
they're spirits, and yeah, lah, you if you can say that they are of certain element, the bribery. That's the first that I've heard of.
Yeah.
Because it's not even from the same culture, right?
Yes,
Because
yes.
burning is something that's uniquely Buddhist and Taoist, right?
I think it's not just that. It's also that the idea is, well, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding, and it's very limited, is that elementals are quite old. Like
Yes.
this belief in elementals is quite old, and it probably predates the concept of money as well.
Yep.
Yes.
So yeah,
Yeah.
So go ahead. Sorry.
I do have a theory. There are spirits that sometimes they act as higher beings just to trick humans or to gain something. So that could be a spirit that is trying to act as an elemental. I don't know, right? I don't want to discredit your
Yes,
friend,
yes,
but
yes.
I'm just saying that there could be more than what it is. Yeah.
I mean, I have another theory which is probably less serious than your theory, but also not joking in that sense. But like, I mean, you're talking about like how there's this. We were talking about like how like all these cultures kind of blend together and everything. And I've told them this before where like I was raised Roman Catholic. That was what my parents' belief was. And but even then, during the Hungry Ghost month, my mom, who's like she'll go to church and she'll teach Sunday school and everything, she'll be like, make sure you don't come back too late, okay? It's the Hungry Ghost month. I was like, which part of the Bible was this from? Because I don't remember this. And I like. I mean, I'm not saying this is probably what happened specifically, but just in general, there seems to always, especially here, there's almost the lines start to blur between beliefs. So even though Hungry Ghost Month is very much it's a Taoist, right? Or
Buddhist and Taoist.
Taoist and Buddhist belief, it feels like something that, well, at least in Singapore and I think probably Malaysia as well, a lot of people tend to observe.
Yes.
Yep.
And I'm not gonna be out there burning stuff,
Yeah.
giving offerings and everything. But also at the same time, like there's this understanding, like, okay, if you see like the food out there, don't kick it, because
Yeah.
like even if you don't believe in this kind of stuff, that's just rude.
Yes.
If you see stuff that's being burnt, don't put out the fire or anything like that. Just walk past it. Try not to step on it. You might miss it, but if you do accidentally step on it, apologize. And it almost blurs the lines where it doesn't matter really what your belief is. It's just something that you observe. So like if the elemental's like, oh, okay, how much?
Yeah.
It's weirdly touching in that sense, because it's like I understand that it's not, we're not siloed anymore. So if you're gonna offer me this from this side of things, then yeah, okay, fine. I appreciate the gesture. So how much? Yeah.
One of the theories is they've also adapted.
Yeah.
That's only a theory. They've also adapted to the way we live. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you practice it also. So for us, for some earth elementals, we leave candies for the dwarves because supposedly they like sweets.
Yeah.
So we leave candy or chocolate. So I'm not sure if is that the same for some of the earth spirits or the
Yes.
forest?
We don't call it sweets. I'm just for those we both of us are not religious, but
Yeah.
we were religious at one point of our life,
Yeah.
and I keep I'm studying all this just to understand, right? So
Yes.
the Taoist world, there's earth deities, so very similar, but when you pray to them, you have to give them a set of candies. But you can only buy it in a religious shop where they sell all the burning paper and such, and you have to have it, and you have to have tea, as a form of respect. And then if you were to talk about like specifically just like any sweet, right, that would be treading on the world of like child spirits,
Yeah.
or like spirits that used to be owned by humans who are child, like Toyo, Kumantong
Yeah.
from the Thai world, right? So yeah.
I was literally about to jump on that, like,
Yeah,
because
there's a lot of cross actually.
yeah, that's the, like, for me, that's the one I'm most familiar with. Like, your child spirits, your toyos, like that's how you I don't want to say keep them in check, but that's how, like, you
Yeah.
keep them around, which is like you
Yes,
offer them
yes.
sweets and toys and stuff like that. But yeah.
Yep.
So it's also it's very interesting that it's also practiced
Yeah.
partially
Yeah.
there, of course. Are you familiar with one of my theories with the Hungry Ghost Month for Singapore and other countries that might practice it is, are you familiar with the concept of collective consciousness, similar to American Gods? If you've read that,
Yeah.
that the more you think about and the more you believe a certain belief or a certain practice, the more you give power to spirits or souls that benefit from it. So again, that's just my theory on why the Hungry Ghost Month is very active in Singapore, because everyone practices it, everyone respects it.
Do you want to go first? Or?
When you say that this whole giving them strength is giving them strength in the belief, or giving them actual strength?
Um, it's kind of an energy when you.
Mm.
It's like praying. It's like praying to something. If you believe in it, if you kind of acknowledge it, it's a
Yeah.
kind of energy transfer. That's the
I
way
see.
I understand it from people we've talked to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there is some similarities. So on this Taiwanese horror show that I watch, there's a couple of, masters, Taoist master and geomancy masters that actually speak of when you think of a spirit, like
Mm-hmm.
as of now, like if you think about it, it knows what you're thinking, and it gives it like a notification, and it's like,
Okay.
oh, this human is thinking about me, I'm gonna go, I can go and find this human. So it kind of gives them power in that sense, right? Like there are, stories where someone passes a funeral in Singapore, and like he's just like thinking, oh, this person died young, and the spirit knows, and the spirit, oh, do you like me? I'm gonna find you right now, like
Yeah.
things like that. So it kind of gives them that strength. So, and in Malay folklore, there's this very famous spirit, because it's at night now. I'm not gonna mention her name. You mentioned it just now, Miss P. By
Yes.
mentioning her name gives her power.
Yeah.
Yes.
So these are fundamental things that I feel like is fascinating, right?
Yeah.
How Southeast Asia, our culture are so diverse yet similar in that sense.
I mean, even going back to what you were saying, where it's this American God style collective consciousness, and like we won't even say her name, and it's two of us, and we won't even say her name. But like it's what you're saying, where if it's become this kind of cultural thing, and everybody's acknowledging it, like an entire country's acknowledging it, does it
Yeah.
give it? I think it does, but I also think I don't think it's a malicious power per se. Well, depending on the spirit, I suppose. But like, it just in generally speaking, it. And I swear I'm not using this as a pun, but it kind of just keeps it alive. So I think yes, I think there is a collective consciousness that does give it power, but I don't think it's power in a ooh spooky, ooh what's gonna happen kind of way. I think it's almost benevolent in that way, in
Yeah.
a very broad sense. I mean, I'm sure there are malicious ones, but just generally speaking, I think it's a good and kind of sweet thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, you can tell like who's the writer, right? Wayne is all about
Yes.
emotions and
Yes.
humanity, right? And I'm all about facts and
Yeah, he keeps me in line.
and
This one,
history.
he keeps me in check. He's like, yeah, calm down there, writer boy.
So just a question. No, I'll save that question for later. So since you mentioned Mrs. P, I think
Miss
one
P,
of
Miss
our
P.
Miss
Miss P,
P.
she's not
Sorry,
married.
okay, she's not married. Okay, Miss P. I think our guest here, JP, has a good, a nice story about Miss P and Bukit Batok. JP, what do you mind telling us about it?
Nice.
Okay, so I was living in NTU at this time, and all my friends were going to like Clark Key to go drinking. I'm like, I'm not. I'm okay with drinking. I'm fine with drinking in kopitiam or in one of those hawker centers, but no need for the club. Like, I don't like the energy. I don't like having to shout. So it's late afternoon, around 5 p.m. I decide to check out Bukit Batok because like I kind of live close by. It's like 2 trains away. So I go to Little Guilin and I just go around. I just go around and it's at that part where it gets a little bit foresty. And I look to my left. And you can see like this woman in white. I already knew the folklore about her before coming into Singapore because we kind of have a similar spirit to it. It
Yes.
either the white lady. So like Miss P is sort of um the Malay version of our white lady mixed in with a little bit of an aswang. So okay, I start seeing her, and I I haven't had that experience where I'm still waiting for it, where I get shit scared and I crap in my pants. Never had, even though my many experiences in the Philippines and abroad. And she just felt sad, and acknowledging her there, like just looking at each other. It was like, okay, you see me, I see you, and she disappears. And then a couple of weeks later, I go around the other side of Singapore. So I think it's Kampong Lorong, Bangkok, one of the last kampongs on the
Yes.
mainland. So I walk around because like I really miss like that kampong feeling because we have a lot of kampongs in the Philippines. And I walk past, I think, the blue house. I forgot what number it was. And there was an old Malay uncle who's like, "Boy, come here." I'm like, I look around like, okay, I'm the only one here. So I go towards him and he asks me, "You've seen her, haven't you?" I'm like, "Who?" "Miss P in Bukit Batok." I'm like, "How the hell did you know?" Like, "Uncle, how the hell did you know I saw her?" And he just starts telling me about the folklore about it, like the whole she has a hole in the back of her head where you can put like a spike or a nail, and then she, from that monstrous form, she transforms back into the beautiful woman that she is, and you can enslave her. While he's telling me this, I just ask him like, how many experiences has he had? And he's like, oh, whenever I go back to Malaysia to visit relatives, I see them a lot because he lives like in one of the rural areas. I think Ipo, and they're all around the house. Like his description was, they're all around his house, and I'm like, aren't you scared, uncle? Then he just asked me, were you scared? I'm like, no. So I think what he was trying to drive at was that, if you come from a place of fear, then the fear is the only one that's going to be there. So if you just come from a place of understanding, or like you just acknowledge each other, and that's your space, I'll stay in my lane, then I guess you're fine. What? That's just me.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is an amazing story. Thanks for sharing, by
my
the way.
God. Yeah.
I have so many things to say. Sorry.
I mean,
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Before you start saying it, I'm just gonna go like I literally had like the hair stand on the back of my neck
Yeah.
when you went to the kampong and then the uncle was like, come here, come here. I was like, oh no, I know where this is going. You don't have to continue, but please continue. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, all right.
Yeah, so like I feel like the first thing that I need to ask is like, did you ever ask him how did he know?
Hmm?
Did
I
he
never
ever
asked.
answer?
It's like, after talking to him, just got the sense that he probably sees the same things I see. Like we
But that's very
probably,
specific because he asked you, did
I
you
know,
see a Bukit Batok? I'm like,
I know.
what if the Bukit Batok one stays at his house
Yeah.
and
'Cause
told him about,
no,
I
'cause-
saw this guy the other day.
Yeah, because like
Are you on mute? You guys are on mute. Yeah.
okay, because he did tell you that like there are a few of them that live around his
Yeah.
house, right? Oh, I see, but that's thing. Like I honestly wouldn't be surprised if like I swear I'm not making fun, but like they could be friends or
Yeah.
that
I
one in
wouldn't be
particular.
surprised. I
Yeah,
wouldn't be surprised.
but
Yeah.
I think what really touched me about your story, I mean, okay, what freaked me out about your story was the uncle going, "Hey, come here, don't go walking off. I know what you've seen." That freaked me out. But like when you said that you saw her and there was a sadness to it, like I think that more and more as time goes by, and like I before all of this started, I knew like the basics of Miss P and like oh, she is this, oh, she does that, and da 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 da. But the more I read about her and the more of these Ghost Maps episodes I do, and the more stories I tell within just this mythology of Southeast Asian horror, like you hear her story and it's tragic is a bit, I don't want to sound too dramatic, but it does seem a bit tragic at times, but also it really is kind of just sad. And like I think it's really sweet the way you said like, oh, I see you, you see me, and then she just goes like, all right, that's all I kind of needed.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, somebody asked me a question the other day, like, oh, how do you as a writer, like, how do you, is there any certain responsibility you feel when you're writing, like, stories that are either supernatural or might potentially be quite violent, as Miss P tends to get as well. And I said, like, I think the most important thing is, no matter what the level of violence is in your story, no matter what the level of gore, no matter what Miss P or any creature does in that instance, the main focus of the stories has to be the emotion that comes out of it. And I think, like, that's me, like, as a writer, and la di da da da, that's the writer approach to things. But also at the same time, like, if you dig far enough with a lot of these creatures and spirits, you kind of can't help but find that emotional core to them as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, the one of the reasons we started to shift our, let's could say, content, we started to shift our mindset is, we started out the podcast. Actually, we started out 2016, but we just came out with maybe 2 or 3 episodes because of
Yeah.
schedules, and we just ramped up last year. But when I got to talk to Sam, actually, uh, I'm not sure if Sam is willing to tell that story. I'll just give a brief background about it. But when he told that story to me, because when he was young, he was being mentored by another, uh, let's say, gifted individual, because he could see that Sam has that gift.
Yeah.
And one of his stories was, Sam, would you want to tell it, or no na lang? Or just me na lang?
No, I'm because I'm as well checking on the comments. But yeah, so that was like way before I was in college already by that time when it happened to me. But it's not like, it's not any other lore. It's just a normal normal ghost story. But
Mm.
what happened was that so in my city right now, we had, while I was in college, there was a fume that was released by one of the refineries here in the Philippines, in my city. So apparently, one school was closed out, so they were exited out of the school because of the fumes. After a week or two, my mentor came to me and told me that, okay, we're just gonna visit. We're gonna do an investigation on this location. And I was like, okay, great, whatever. Again, I was like 17 years old by then. I So we went to that school, that specific school, because there was something going on. And then when we went there, it was at around 6 p.m. in the evening. So we went there, we went inside, and then what happened is that, since this school was actually my high school before, so it was like a school that, so everyone in the security, the maintenance, they kind of know me still. So I went there. There's no questions asked, and then this school houses like evening classes for the underprivileged people, which is very nice of them. But on that specific night, there was no one there. So in the high school department, I was instructed by my mentor to bring a flashlight and then go straight to the fifth floor. And it was so the instruction was, every time that you hit a second floor, the next floor, you flash the light so we would know where you are. So okay, we're doing that, and then on the fifth floor, in the landing, it was the restrooms for girls and boys. So clearly, I was thinking, okay, I need to go to the male's restroom because physically I'm a male. So, but everything in my guts telling me to take a peek on the female's restroom. So, cut short, I went to the ladies' room, and there's the feeling of really heaviness of what's really happening. So, right then and there, everything, all the information that I need to know is being downloaded in my brain, and then I just literally started running down to the down where my mentor was, and I was crying already because what I've seen is that it's a murder scene, and as well what really happened on that specific day. So when I was really crying out, and I was like really um, asking my mentor, because I was only 17. Um, when I held my mentor, the two ghosts manifested in front of us. And when I held my mentor, I transferred all the information that was stuck in my brain. It continually plays in my head. So I had to tap him so I could release it off. So I'm not gonna go into details what really
Yeah.
happened, but what had happened is that, you know, my mentor asked me, because I was telling him, why did you do this to me? I'm 17 years old. I'm not supposed to be seeing this kind of things. Not no person is supposed to see this kind of things. And then he told me that, okay, you have to calm down, because what's important here is that someone knows the story already, and that story needs to be told. And at the back of my head, I'm like, every other normal person, if someone sees a ghost, we normally vilify the ghosts without even thinking of what the backstory is and what really is happening. So just like what happened with JP, you have to understand what's really happening on the spirit level before you jump into scaring everyone else. Yeah. So that's what happened.
But so building on that with what Sam said, after he told us that story, we kind of stopped uh, making everything all about the scary stuff. We began to
Yeah.
try to understand. I mean, I hear it also with some of your stories that you try to
Yeah.
help people understand as well. There's a reason. There's a reason behind the stories, and
Yeah.
so that's the reason I asked Sam to retell that story also. Thank
Yeah.
you, Sam, for. Sorry if
Yeah,
it
Yeah.
was
and
a
Thank you,
bit
Sam.
emotional. Yeah.
it
No, no, no,
is
no.
it is
It's
a I cannot imagine, like, what you went through, because it is tough to see that. Yeah, but thanks for telling that story.
yeah. But
So
yeah, I
so
mean,
have yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
oh,
Go
sorry,
Carl.
Nick, go ahead, go ahead.
Ah, go in. It's okay.
But yeah, like it's I it's precisely that, like when Sam said it's understanding their point of view.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
right, not just their point of view, but I think it's wow, this conversation is a lot heavier than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Sorry.
In a good way. Definitely in a good way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those things where, like, I think, I mean, we talk about like how as storytellers we wanna have that, we wanna instill our stories with that sense of empathy, and
Yes.
not necessarily just for the quote unquote good guy in the story as well. Like I remember, um, we had one particular story that somebody shared with us, about it was set in World War II. And the moment I said World War II, I'm sure Carl knows exactly which story I'm talking about. It was in Bahau in Malaysia, and it involved these. If I'm remembering right, it was the person who told it. His dad was young at the time, and his the dad and the dad's dad, the grandfather,
Yes.
ran like a coffee shop in Bahau, and that coffee shop at the time was frequented by the occupying Japanese soldiers. And I remember when I wrote the story, and some of it was in the telling of when the person told the story to us, but some of it, because all our ghost map stories, we try to have it be inspired by the stories that are told to us, and not like just a straightforward retelling. Some of it I added in, and I remember Carl was like, I like it, but I'm so conflicted about how much sympathy you've placed on the occupying forces as well. I was like, yeah, and he's like, and he's like, I absolutely see why you did it also, but like it was a strange feeling, I guess.
Yeah.
Would strange be the way you describe it?
I would say surreal.
Yeah. And yeah, so like I think I think when when you talk about turning points for your podcast, I think that was probably one of the turning points for us as well, where we reached a point in time where we realized, like, we can't just tell, I mean, we never set out to tell, like, straightforward, like, jump scare kind of stories, like, oh, watch out,
Yeah.
it's behind the door. But I think that kind of cemented the approach that we wanted to take with Ghost Maps as well for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Nick, I completely interrupted you just now when you were about to say something.
Yeah. Because
No,
the
it's okay, it's okay.
the way I see it, right? Like, when you look at horror films, there's always two camps: the East versus the West. The West is gore and violence crank up to like insane levels, right? But they never really address the why. The East is there's always a retributional outlook on it. Like you look at Shutter, right? One of the classic horror is about someone, being murdered and wrong, and this female spirit is actually coming back to haunt all of them and kill them. So I feel like we are more on the east side, and we look at it as like the start. When there's a haunting, there's always a start, there's always a reason.
Yeah.
Like the atmosphere, it will never always be like, boom, I'm coming out, I'm climbing out of the TV and killing you. It will never reach that level. If it does reach that level, yeah, you're gone lah. Like basically that's it for you lah. But it rarely reaches that level because they just want a voice, right? Like certain hauntings, maybe they just want they know that, oh, this guy is a storyteller, or maybe this guy will tell my story, and I will get hurt.
Yeah.
And I can kind of empathize being stuck on another dimension and not having that voice to the living world. It can be quite torturous.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. No, I think, I mean, just to circle back to that as well, I think it's a case of even in episodes where it's like when we create episodes and it seems like a straightforward kind of, like, a bit more straightforward, where like, oh, this thing happened and this person was like frightened and everything. Even then, when we're creating the episodes, so we just try to think to ourselves, like, okay, why did this happen? If they're doing this, if they're malicious in this, like, why are they malicious? And even if it doesn't make it to the episode, I
Yes,
think it's
yes.
important for us to understand at least where, or at least get a sense of, we think this is why this happened, and
Yeah,
at
exactly.
least have that while we're telling the story as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask, actually, Sam. Sam, if you're still good, can you? I think my connection is breaking up a bit. But Sam, is it okay if you
Ah,
tell us about your Tampines story? But I'll just preempt that with, I also
Nice.
worked partially in Singapore, maybe for a few months only, and it was production related also. And of course, if it's production, you have to wake up early. I mean, you walk 3 a.m. in the morning to get to your location on time. And I didn't feel fear when I was walking that early in the morning. And after listening to your episodes, of course, 2 years ago, I started realizing, what if there were things that would be around me? My imagination started churning, of course. But when Sam mentioned Sam has a story in Tampines Station, and that's the first time I heard it. Sam, is it okay if you tell that story?
yeah, sure, sure. This was way back 2010. I was working somewhere in Algeria, and then my team and I, or yeah, my team would go to IKEA or somewhere else. But so every time that we pass by Tampines Station, so this is like my first week in my job, and my coworkers are taking me places. Every time that we pass by Tampines Station and stop there, this the of course the locals are, quiet, closing their eyes, bowing their heads and stuff like that. And well, because for me, I since I'm new there, I'm like, what is happening? And it's like a perfect choreographed point where everyone just close their eyes, bow their head. I'm like, what's happening? Am I supposed to do that as well? Wait, hold on. So the first couple of times that this happened, it was like, so every time that we pass by there, all I just hear are crying. So usually I hear crying, and like, okay, whatever, because I have no idea of what was the history behind it. And then after that, a few weeks passed by. I keep on asking my Filipino coworkers, why are they doing that? And they have no idea as well. So I'm like, okay, someone has to tell me the story here. And then one time, my boss, who's a local in Singapore, joined us in going to IKEA, and he was like, he did the same thing. So I was like, okay, finally someone that I can talk to who is going to tell me what's happening. So I don't know if it's true or not, but somewhere in Tampines, if I'm not mistaken, near the Tampines station was a cemetery that was demolished or something. So I, again, this is just an information that was transferred to me. So I was like, okay. So well, that makes sense. That makes sense. Like the noise that I'm hearing, the crying and all that. But again, maybe you guys could clarify that, because again, it was just transferred to me. I didn't know. I didn't have the first hand experience of, is there indeed um an old cemetery there? So maybe back to you, Kyle and Wayne.
Back to you, Kyle,
Yeah,
specifically.
Historical element, right?
Oh, yeah.
I won't say that I'm a historian. I'm pretty sure there's a lot more people who know what I know, but I delve too much into the occult in Singapore to not know a little bit about this. But I need to clarify one thing. You when you say Tampines station, is it the MRT station
Yeah,
or the bus interchange? Because they're not very close to each other.
the train station.
The train station. Okay, cool. Because there's a lot of people. So when you say they bow, are they bowing at the gantry where you tap in, or are they bowing at the station itself, the platform?
At the train.
Inside the train.
While
So
the
Are you sure
whenever
they
that
are?
passes that.
Are you sure they're humans?
I have no idea. Thank you for making it more difficult for me.
No. Because I'm not debunking your story on anything. Because I stay somewhere in that area, right? I have not seen
it's a secret. Okay.
anyone done that in my entire life before.
Yeah.
Which is very
That's
strange.
weirding me out.
That's why I feel like it could be spiritual, but that's not without claim, because Tampines used to be much larger, and there's a part of Tampines that was carved out into a separate estate, and that estate is just right beside Tampines. That estate itself, they carve out, because Tampines is too big. They carve out into separate estates. That estate used to be a cemetery, and it was an entire estate worth of cemeteries. That estate is very much haunted. And there's parts of Tampines near IKEA that is very haunted. Just don't mind us. Slight plug. Tomorrow we have an episode that is exactly, we didn't plan this. It's
We really
exactly
didn't.
about Tampines, about that stretch of road that's full of mispeace. That's full of temples. There's like 7 temples at that stretch of road. There's a lot of death. People died at that road. It's a very haunted road. It's called Old Tampines Road. So what you are saying is not entirely saying there's no claim. I think there's some historical elements to it.
Yeah.
But I think there may be more than maybe they were
Yeah.
asking you for help, man. Like for all we know, right? They are
Great.
trying like and like bowing like, okay, let's show this person like something that's not.
Because I
Well, 'cause it's
yeah.
mm,
Sorry, Sam. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
go ahead.
please.
yeah, because I was with a couple of my co-workers. I think that people can see them. So it's not just me, but the audio sound, yes, it's only me that I can hear the crying, but I don't know.
Yeah, because I've never seen.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just not paying attention as well. So there's that possibility. But I've never seen anybody like doing the bows on the train. If anything,
Yeah.
yeah, because nothing's weird's happened to me when I pass through Tampines, but I don't travel in that area as often as like maybe Kyle does. So
Yeah.
maybe it's just me.
That
but-
place is super, super crowded though.
Yeah.
Like it's very crowded.
is.
Even at night, right? But yeah, certain parts of Tampines is very much haunted.
Yeah. Oh,
Thank
man,
you so
yeah.
much.
At least we cleared that up.
Yep.
Yeah. And
Possibly
I
made it
actually
worse.
am looking at something as well here in the comment section, saying that
Hey, go
they've
ahead.
read a couple of people. There's coming from Justin Amorao. that
Yes.
there are other stories that says the same thing.
Is this one, Sam?
Yeah.
Yeah, but further down, I think he said turns out that
Oh,
this was
that
the
was
story
Sam's
shared by
story.
Sam.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
I think that
yeah.
was Sam's story.
But I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not surprised, given that Singapore is such a small country, and we went through World War II, right?
Yeah.
So the death per inch, per density is perhaps the most in the world, right?
Yeah,
We always say that in almost every podcast that we go to, but
'Cause-
it's a fact.
yeah, because yeah.
You're on mute.
Yeah, I've said this before. Like, I've told Carl this on, I think, did air before as well. Where I had like a boss of mine from one of the agencies I used to work at. He's like this British guy. He's like super excited. It's like, hey, I heard Singapore per square kilometer is the most haunted place in the world. I was like, how?
Yep.
A, how do you know this? And B, why you sound so excited? But yeah, like, I think it's just like.
Yeah,
Yes, we are the most haunted place in the world. That's purely by density more than anything else.
It's fascinating. Let me tell you a story because I just
Yeah.
moved into a new apartment and we always record dead air and any episodes here in this home studio of mine. And this plot of land was empty for many years. I would say at least close to 20 to 30 years. And allegedly, this at the tip of this plot of land was where the Japanese soldier executed a couple of Chinese POWs, and subsequently was a ammo dump. So I've actually disturbed a couple of my neighbors to say, "Hey, this place could be haunted for all we know," right?
Good job appealing yourself to your neighbors, Carl.
Right, yeah, and yeah, lah. Of course, this year's 7 months, we did burn something, yeah.
So Kyle, do you also practice some? Because JP here, he practices a different form of. Am I correct? JP has a different form of feng shui. Am I right?
So I learned it from one of my ama's friends. So to give you a background, my ama, even though she's not your Chinese, she was sort of the one that people would go to. So there's this coffee shop in our version of Chinatown that she go to, and she meet up with her friends, and all her friends were either tankies or feng shui masters or practitioners of Mao Shan sect Taoism. So I kind of learned from them. I kind of did some tanki work before once for Lunar New Year, I think, for one of the temples. And yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy, man. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Do you care telling us about it?
Well, wait, for Nick and Sam, I forgot. Tanki is the Taoist version of a spirit medium. So um
Okay.
Mandarin, it's Tongji, I think. Tongchi. Sorry, I butcher my Mandarin, but Tong is child, Ji is to divine. So yeah, that's the thing. And so you basically take on the spirit inside your body, and you're kind of put in the back of your mind in the recesses of your unconsciousness, while the spirit uses your body to convey a message or something. And usually the after effect, if it's a god, everything your mouth tastes will be sweet. I think, if I got that correct. If it's a human spirit, everything's normal. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard, right? To
Yeah.
be a donkey. I have friends I photographed the sessions as well. It's the things that they do, no pun intended, are out of the world because it's really what a normal person would not do, like piercing your tongue with like a
Yeah.
knife, cutting your arms and your limbs with sharp objects. Yeah, it has to be chosen, like as what you described the word is, a child of the spirits or the deities, right? You have to be
Yeah.
chosen by them, and you have to have that what we call the bone of the god. So you have to be born with the ability to adapt onto that. And actually, usually it's not a very easy life because the to be possessed the experience is not very nice. So to do
Yeah.
it so often is actually not very good for you, but
Yeah.
it's fate. So it's preordained. As the people who tell me. So yeah, I can I can understand why it must be hard for you to experience it yourself, right?
Yeah.
So there's a
So yeah,
nice
Sam,
Nice,
you
question here.
proceed.
nice. Yeah, that's what we're waiting for.
That's a very nice question. I'm not sure if you want it to be answered. Just let us know. But Sam,
It's fine.
you
It's
can just
fine.
you can okay.
Sam, go first. Go first, Sam.
Why? No, 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 no. You guys go ahead. I'm just enjoying this time. Plus, I
Sam,
can.
Sam, the response we were hoping for was no, not why. That's
No,
worse.
no, no. You're safe. There you go.
Okay,
Let's just put it that way. You'll be safe,
sure.
anyways. I mean, I'm feeling a lot of energy in the location, anyways. And you know what we call here as elementals are very. They feed off what the people around them provides.
Yeah.
So if they are, feeling that you guys really do, you just put out positive energy and stuff like that. That's what they're gonna give you as well. It has been proven time and again that every time that
Yes.
there's an elemental around a person, what the person provides is what the elemental gives as well. Now, if you guys are full of negativity, always fighting, you can expect a lot of that as well coming back to you. But all I
Right.
feel is, even though it's really dark right now, and the only thing that I can see is either if that's not a drawer, I don't know what that
It is. It
is.
is. Okay. Okay. Okay.
So
So
but
are
that's
you saying
the
that there's
energy
an
that
elemental in my studio? Is that what you're
yeah.
saying?
Mhm.
Oh,
I
okay.
just don't know what it is, but
Yeah.
I just that's the energy that I'm getting.
Nice.
So Sam actually is one of the more scientific people I've talked to with regards to identifying spirits, because spirits or human spirits or elemental. So because we have this other friend who actually reached out to us way back early this year, that she asked for help if we knew anyone who could close the third eye of children, because her children were seeing spirits. And she became a friend of ours, and she would ask Sam, how do I know if the child I'm seeing is a human spirit or an elemental? So Sam was, because again, a brief background, Sam was grew up with these abilities. He grew up when
Yeah.
he opened his eyes, he was able to see human spirits, elementals, and the other stuff. But he said that you'd be able to identify based on, because I'm not sure if this is the same, Kylo Rain. The people with third eyes that you've talked to, I'm not sure if they say the same things, but for the psychics I've talked to, usually seeing also comes with emotion, being an empath. So if they
Yep.
see a spirit, they will be able to feel pain or anger. If that
Yep.
spirit was stabbed, sometimes they feel it as well. Is it the same
Yep.
for? Oh, okay.
Depends on. I think there's level. So how
Mm,
powerful they are. For me
mm,
personally, I don't believe it, but personally there is some theories that I have some form of sixth sense. I can feel, right? I can feel where a place is not right, or I can have very strong feelings when I enter a place that's very very evil. So there's theories, but I honestly I'm an agnostic, quite close to atheist, so I don't believe it. So but I'm very curious now that you say that there's an elemental in my studio. So I want to ask you, if elementals, are they evil or are they good or are they neutral? Because I'm curious, right?
neutral. Yeah.
Um, they are always neutral. They always tend to just keep to themselves. As long as, like, there are elementals that we've experienced, that I've experienced, that has been malevolent in a way that because you kind of ruin their dwelling, they're gonna, they're gonna kick back, they're gonna fight back. But there are as well elementals. A few of my guides here at home are elementals, and that, as long as I just continue what I'm doing. They're not gonna bother me anyways. There was like one time that the new one, I actually have a new one, who bothered me like for a whole
Can you show us
month.
where? Can you show us where it
It's
pops
gonna
up?
show itself.
It's
Yeah, it's gonna
yeah.
show itself
Sometimes it
here.
shows. Yeah.
That's the
I
reason
can
why
see
I
in the
draw
curtain.
I draw the curtain way back because it literally picks out. But
There.
Interesting.
so sometimes it would like this entity or this elemental would pull on my leg. So I've been having leg pains for like the whole month. Um, but then it's actually a wake up call because the more that I feel pain, I pop meds, and I think that's what it's saying, that hey, don't drink too much painkillers because it's gonna hinder everything for you. So that's the only time that it bothered me. But other than that, as long as you are providing just positive energy, they're not gonna do anything to you anyways.
I
Interesting.
like I picked up on that part in particular where you're talking about the energy thing. I can't remember whether it's a specific belief or just a general belief where they say that people who not exactly exude negative energy, but people who are vulnerable emotionally are more susceptible to whether it's attacks or
Yeah.
sightings or stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, it also, like, going back to what you were saying, like your initial question of, oh, have you all experienced anything while you're recording things? And yeah, we had that one experience, and if we've had more and Carl hasn't told me, I don't know. Um, but I also think I like that thinking where if you exude positive energy,
Yeah.
they won't bother you, because we like it's a strange thing to say for a pair of guys that do like ghost stories, but we have lots of fun.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, so I do know that. I mean, what you say right now about my studio, I can't say that I fully believe it. I also can't say that I dismiss it. But there are times when I'm editing ghost maps, I can feel a presence, right? Or there are times when I'm working on set, not in my house or whichever, right? I can feel a presence. But I've always gone with this mindset, and it's very much Chinese. This mindset, if I may, I can say it in Mandarin, right? Uh, 白天不做亏心事，半夜不怕鬼门敲，不怕鬼敲门. So if you don't do bad things in the day, there's no need for you to fear the ghost knocking at night. So I have not done anything evil. So even if they were to disturb me, I'm in the right. So then
Yeah.
don't blame me for retaliating, right? Because I can.
I like how you're lawyering against ghosts now.
No. Not that, I'm just saying that logically, right?
Yeah.
Even for spirits, they have to follow. There's a law, right?
Yeah.
Law and order. In that sense, every living being or every being has to follow that law. So I believe very strongly on that.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not as afraid. I'm like, whatever lah. I'm not. I'm not disturbing you, so don't disturb me.
Yeah.
You're here and I'm here, so whatever.
I mean, okay, that's a very nice way of saying that I'm a coward, but thank you, Carl. No, but like, I mean, jokes aside, like, I mean, we talk about it, like, he says like he's not afraid, even though like you said, we for 2 years we've been telling ghost stories, and
Yeah.
we've been telling like not just ghost stories, but ghost stories that people tell us, and then we kind of put our own spin on it and relate it back to the public
Yes.
and everything. So it's one of those things where I'm also like, and I'm not like challenging you all like, hey, but like and what Sam said really does hit a chord with me as well, where it's a case of, I think because Carl and I, we try very hard to be respectful of these stories.
Oh yeah.
And-
For sure.
And we at the same time, while we're doing it, like we it's very loving, where we're always talking about like this is, I love this partnership, man. Like, yeah, we work really well together, and it's a very encouraging partnership, even with the narrator who is not here today, and we will not magically reveal him here. Even with the narrator, it's very collaborative and it's very fun, and
Yeah.
it's just, there's a lot of camaraderie
Yeah.
when we're doing ghost maps. So maybe that's I'm again, I'm not challenging anything out there, but like, maybe that's why
Yeah.
after 2 years of doing ghost maps, we're still reasonably okay. Like in
Trust
terms-
me, I've done my fair share of stupidity and disrespect to spirits, and I've gotten my retribution. I've gotten my punishment, so I know where I stand. So yeah, I think we are good. We are very respectful,
Yeah.
as much as we can be. Yeah.
Also,
but
if
Kyle,
any,
yeah. Sorry.
oh no, I was
Kyle,
just gonna
can
say
you- yeah.
if any spirits come by, they're like, hey, I know him. I recognize him from before. Sorry, Nick. Yeah, sorry.
Kyle, would you care to tell us about the stories that you learned your lesson, or is
Sure.
it a bit private?
No. That's totally fine, right? So when I was 17, I was very rebellious and I was going through this golf phase. So I did a lot of urban exploration, and this was way before I studied film. I was super into photography. So in Singapore, there was a whole bunch of abandoned places. Now most of them are gone, and I started exploring them, including the famous old Changi Hospital, which is very very haunted and known to have demons. Yeah, I was at that stage of my life, golf, emo, and very much atheist. I was like, there's no such thing. I go to haunted places and say, there's no such thing. Come if you dare. I'm not afraid of you. Yeah. So as you could tell, things followed me home, but it was a gradual thing, you know, until I went to this place called the Tanglin Brunei Hostel. It was a hostel that was loaned by the Singapore government to Brunei for them to send students to study. And I think after a few years, they had their own resources to build their stuff. So they left it there. It's abandoned to this day. It's actually at the back of Orchard Road. So it's a very posh neighborhood. So right in the middle, one big plot of land with abandoned hostel. So that place is very creepy in a sense whereby allegedly there are like satanic rituals and stuff, and people died there. I don't know. I can't confirm that. Then there was this. I remember going to this place. There was this very big kitchen, and the kitchen had like tile tables, like very old school tile design tables for cooking, but it wasn't done in a very natural way that you lay out in the kitchen. It almost looked like it was a room to keep dead bodies, like a mortuary, because it's so dark and it's so abandoned, right? And the whole area around that kitchen, there were like used incense, so the ones that you used to pray a spirit, which is very strange. Yeah. So we went in a group of 10, all male. So we had I had one guy who is even more emo, so he's on the level of like depression and stuff, and he was like looking into this closet just underneath the stairs, one of those like half closets. So I keep telling him, don't go in there, it definitely got something in there, don't. So but he keep wanting to go in there, so I stopped him, and then we just basically did our thing. As I was leaving, because it's one of those kampong houses and it's mostly made of wood, the front entrance is actually elevated. It's like half a floor up above the ground, but the lower ground is already all the wood has rotten. So me being me and young and stupid, I was like, I'm gonna take the shortcut, because it's instead of taking one big round and going back from the forest like everyone did, I want to go, just jump down and hopefully land and then just go through the main gate. But my friend literally told me, if you have a normal road, just take the normal road. Don't take the road of the spirits. And this friend has a sixth sense, very strong. And I was like, nah, I don't believe. The moment I stepped on the wood, I fell through the wall. I fell through the floor, and I went down. I mean, it wasn't a drop, so I could I was like this inside the floor. But the scary part was that the top, the ceiling, the rebar dropped, and the rebar missed my head by like maybe few cms. So can you imagine if it hits my head? That would be like, what's that show?
I don't know, but you wouldn't be here now. That's for sure.
Yeah, that was like the show where everybody dies.
Oh, Final Destination.
Yeah, that would be
Final
like
Destination.
that would be like Final Destination. I'll
Yeah.
be dead. And later I found out that actually, as much of an 80s I wore a golden Buddhist amulet. I'm pretty sure that protected me. If not, I won't be here today. And that's not the end, you know. And I was
Okay.
like, oh, okay, I was fine. And so I left. My friend pulled me out and said, "I told you so, you idiot." And then we went to eat. I think that night or a couple of nights later, I went home as per normal after a day of fun. I had a feeling that something followed me, but I couldn't tell. And at that point, I was staying with my parents, and my parents' place is blessed. They are religious, so there's a Kuan Yin Ma, so it's a Buddhist god. And there's like ancestral tablets, so there's actually ancestral spirits living in the home, so it's protected. So I should be safe, right? So I was sleeping on the top deck of the double decker bed. And I was using the fan, and I could feel. I mean, I was asleep already. I could feel that the fan was being blocked, and it was getting hotter. So I was facing the wall. So when I turned, I saw a face right in front of me. Yeah, so it was a face of an old man, an old Chinese man, and it's blue color. And it was in this stage where you can't really tell whether if you're awake or asleep. It's very blurry, but I'm pretty sure it happened. Yeah, because I remember details like what time was it? So like almost 3, and the door was open. Because the next day when I woke up, the door was open. And yeah, and the next day I was like, oh, okay, I think I better go to the temple to pray. But I didn't lah. So I just prayed to my own God, and I was like, yeah. And I stopped urban exploration. Yeah. So to kids, if you want urban exploration, yes, please bring protection, but do not make fun of the spirits.
Yeah.
Actually, that's a constant thing that we learn from the people we've talked to. You really have to respect. You really have to respect the locations and the spirits around you. Wayne, did you do anything like that when you were younger?
Hell
He's
no.
much smarter.
No, yeah, but also at the same time, no, I wouldn't even do that. Like, I don't think I've ever had the balls to do that. I think like I've told this story before, but just in case like nobody knows it, like the closest thing I had to Kyle's teenage encounters with supernatural stuff was like I'm quite sure I've told the story a couple of times before, but like I was at a house party, and weirdly enough, not drunk.
Yes.
But it was somewhere around like 3 in the morning, and it's always somewhere around 3 in the morning.
Yes.
And I was like, everybody's like just chilling out. I want to go for a walk and everything, and so I left my friend's condo, and I walked down. Like it's there are a lot of trees along this little road, and I was walking down, and I passed by like a cross junction, and as I continued walking, and on my right was an all-girls school, and weirdly enough, just a little bit further down, or right next to the all-girls school was a Catholic church, and in between the two buildings was like a little area where they would have like the where the school would dump all the rubbish and everything, and they'll wait for the trucks to come and pick it up. And it's 3 in the morning, and I'm like walking, and like I wasn't even really paying attention to what was going on. I was just like,
Yes.
okay, fine, it's 3 in the morning, da 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 da, and I passed by the area where the rubbish was, and I heard something just go. "Rrr." First instinct was, oh, big dog. And then I turn, and I see this pair of red eyes staring at me. And when I say staring at me, I mean like staring at me right in the eyes. So
Yeah.
whatever this was, it was at least the same height as I was. I'm not a tall guy, but there are no dogs, as far as I know, roaming the streets of Singapore that are the height of a 14-year-old kid. And the whole stretch after this is still kind of a blur to me, but I remember bits of it. I remember it coming forward. I remember it looking kind of like a dog. Dog seems like such a nice way to describe it. Like it's this beast. It was basically like
Yes.
a man-sized beast that was
Yes.
on all fours. And I turned and I ran. And again, not the most physically fit of 14-year-olds to begin with. But I ran, and I remember specifically passing by that cross junction. And that's like the cross junction, okay, making sure I'm getting this in the camera. Cross junction, here's where the all-girls school was. And so my friend's condo was a bit further down past the cross junction. And I ran past that cross junction, and the whole time as I'm running towards the cross junction, I'm thinking, shit, it's gonna get me, it's gonna get me. It's gonna get it. I can practically feel it breathing on my neck. I don't know what exactly happened between the garbage area and the cross junction. I don't know what its intentions were, whether it was just messing with me. As soon as I passed by the cross junction, I know there was something behind me. I could still hear the damn thing growling. I know I saw red eyes staring out at me. I passed by the cross junction. Something tells me to turn around. So I'm still running.
Yeah.
And I look behind me and there's nothing. Whatever it was that was chasing me, gone. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, what just happened? So I'm just like standing there. Of course, I don't go back past the cross junction back to where the garbage dump was. I was like, just standing there like, huh? What? And like, if that was the only thing that ever happened to me at that spot, I would have... Well, it was the only thing that happened to me at that spot. But if that was the only thing from that spot that I heard of, I would have just chalked it up to whatever. But like, a friend also told me that stretch he in that school, long story short, he basically saw a ghostly girl waving at him from the school. And you know, he passed by that cross junction, he saw a girl waving at him from the second floor, and this was during the day. And then he reached closer to the main road and he turned around, and it was like he was on his motorbike and he'd ridden like maybe like a couple of meters at most. And when he reached the main road, he turned around and he saw the same girl from the second floor now at that cross junction waving at him still. So I don't know how fast if this was a human girl, I don't know how fast she ran from
Yeah,
the second floor
yes.
to the first.
Broken limbs, man, if this was human.
Yeah, and you know, my friend's not a, like, you know, the elephant man or anything like that, but also, bless him, no girl is going to be running down like 2 floors just to wave to him. That's not going to happen. So
That's
yeah,
what a
I've
friend, huh?
never, yeah, I mean, I've never done the urban exploration thing. I've never gone searching for it, but I think, and in particular, it happened to, like, all this stuff kind of, well, I don't know whether it was different for Carl, but for me, like, a lot of this stuff happened when I was younger, and then past probably my mid-20s, I guess, again, fingers crossed, they kind of left me alone, I suppose, or I stopped seeing them. But yeah, I never did the closest I ever came to the urban exploration and you know, daring spirits, like a madman in what's clearly a very haunted spot, was when that same my boss from the agency from before, the British guy, was like, oh, I've heard about this Changi hospital. Do you want to go there? I was like, what is wrong with you? You have a child. You're happily married. Why? And he's like, no, I just want to see it. It's like, well, you can go see it on your own. That's fine. Thank you very much. You have fun there. No, I think I didn't really need to go look for the stuff because a lot of the places where I grew up around, like, there was stuff happening around down there, whether I wanted it or not. Like, I think the I'm going on a story roll now, but around that same area as well, where that weird beast thing chased me. Like, I had a friend who lived down there, and you know, his place was ridiculously creepy. Like, there was once where all of us were watching football, and out the window behind his television, we could have sworn we saw like something that resembled the head floating across the window.
Yes.
So yeah, so like that was the place where I mean, we all kind of saw it. And that's when like it's a whole group of us watching football. So we're like, okay, fine. Just again, don't acknowledge it. Keep focusing on the game. If you're gonna get angry or like emotional about anything, get emotional about who's scoring the goal, and that's fine. But like it was like that whole stretch uh, um, of where we used to stay that it was there and like and one other place I used to stay where I would see where somebody would always have seen something. And like my stories are relatively tame compared to like a lot of the other stories my friends told us. Some of which actually informed like early episodes of Ghost Maps as well.
Yeah.
But like it's there was enough going around where I didn't feel the need to like, hey, I'll go look for another place where
Yeah.
I'm sure I can find them. I was like, well, just stand at a cross junction at 3 a.m. Apparently that's enough. So yeah, no, it's not that as Kyle says I'm the smarter one. It's just that like I had enough glimpses into it and that was it for me. I'm like, okay, that's enough.
Yes.
Thank you very much. It's okay. I don't need to see anything else. It's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wayne, we actually we have if you're familiar with the aswang,
Yeah.
that's that story of the big dog,
Yeah.
insanely big dog, is similar to some of the experiences we've heard here also. So,
Could be.
but in your cultures, is there a thing that you call that resembles that?
I
No.
Aswang,
No.
no. I've which is weird because like we've seen there's the I'm gonna mispronounce this and it doesn't matter because like whether it's the Indonesian and Malaysian version or the Filipino version, I always end up mispronouncing it.
It's okay.
Manananggal?
Yes, manananggal.
Yes. And there's like a Malaysia Indonesian version called the Penanggalan as well.
Penanggalan.
Yeah, and they're very which is why I'm surprised we don't have like our version of Aswang as well because like we've got that the Toyol I think in the Philippines it's the Tiana.
Yes,
Could
Tiana.
be wrong. Yes. And so there's enough of that. And like you said like earlier the lady in white and Miss P like there's enough similarities of that which is why I'm like I mean, I'm not saying I want to see one, but like, how come we don't have our version of an Aswang?
Maybe the aswang is just aswang in Singapore.
No,
Maybe
could be.
what you've seen in I think the Filipino community in Singapore is growing.
Yeah.
And I guess there were always Filipinos in Singapore.
Yeah.
So and aswang they can shapeshift,
Yes.
right? So they can travel, and there are
Yes.
stories of aswang traveling to all the way to the U.S. and settling down, and killing people there. So I wouldn't be surprised if one traveled to Singapore, right? So yeah, I actually slight tangent. I would love to see Aswang versus Miss P. I wonder who would win.
I
in a
hope
fight.
not in real life, Carl.
And then the winner
Go on.
will fight the Skinwalker.
I like how Carl literally has this whole like fight tournament in his head for supernatural creatures. I cannot believe we
Yes.
haven't done a short film for that yet.
Eventually, I guess
I'm-
we will.
yeah.
We will, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be interesting.
I just have a question to Wayne.
Yes, sir.
So you the experience that you had, I just want to really dig deep into this because I feel like I don't know if it is an aswang, but when you said that does it have fur when you saw it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, great. But because I feel like it's not really an aswang, but more of um, what we call here as tikbalang.
Tigtingin?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because I feel like it shape shifts too fast, and and physically it travels too fast as well. When we say tikbalang here, we have this is actually like a spirit that shape shifts, but the original form of it resembles a horse-like figure. So I don't know if it is indeed a dog that you saw, but it has as well the snout.
It could. Oh God, Carl literally Googled it so that I have a point of
Yeah.
If you
reference.
guys watch
Yeah.
Dresser,
I'll
it's
try to share it.
yeah.
Oh no, okay, okay, I can definitely see why. Yeah, okay, I can see why you went for that because I'm
Because
looking at like yeah. Sorry, Sam.
because
Go.
the one thing that at how do you call that Matikbalang is known for here in the Philippines is that, and this is the reason why I kind of picked up that sense, is because one 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 thing is that they actually lead people in
Astray. Yeah.
different way astray, like they're gonna, and as well they kind of forget what happened specifically on that time that you saw that tikbala. So when you're telling me that, okay, I was seeing this, but I cannot remember the entirety of it,
Yeah.
I think that is where I pick up, okay, it could be a tikbalang rather than
Right.
an aswang.
Oh, okay. Well, okay, that would make a lot of sense as well because I just thought I was just panicking. I was like, oh god, oh, okay, run. But yeah, because like I saw some of like the visual references that Carl had because he just
Yeah.
Googled it. And I was like, okay, yeah, I can see why that's what you figured it might have been.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, it's usually seen as a large. Actually, both of them have experienced this, but we actually thought when I started the podcast, I actually thought that, oh, are these entities native to our country? I was being egocentric and saying, oh, these were native to the country. But when we started speaking with people from Amsterdam, from Denmark, from other countries,
Yeah.
we realized that all countries have elementals,
Yeah.
these nature spirits. It's just that they manifest to us depending on our culture and our
Yep.
Yeah.
beliefs. So depending on how you would see them, that's how they manifested to you.
Yeah.
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 Agree.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's I think it's something that's like just fascinated us for quite some time where it's that similarities and like people used to go like, oh yeah, Miss P's kind of like the Western vampire. I mean, I don't personally see how like she's.
Nah,
I
she's
get,
more
I
of a
see,
banshee.
yeah. Banshee's a
Yeah.
little bit closer to what she is, but like
Yes. Yes.
the fact that you can draw comparisons on that, and then people always say like,
Yep.
every culture has like a vampire kind of figure and all that,
Yep.
and then you look across it and then like it's specifically the microcosm of Southeast Asia, and there's
Yeah.
so much similarities between our mythology and our supernatural and our superstitions and everything. And I mean, I've told Carl this before, but I'm going to use that word again. I find it quite sweet because it shows that connection that we all have across the countries and everything, and how like we're all tied together and everything. And like, yeah, so Tikbalang, I kind of I'm going to retroactively assume that that's actually what I saw now because I like the idea that it was a creature that, you know, traditionally is more associated with not Singapore, but like the Philippines or one of our neighboring countries. I kind of like that.
It actually, as I'm reading about it, there was a guy who did a documentary about it, tracing a Filipino. He did a documentary about the Tikbalang and tracing it all the way back to India, Hinduism.
Yeah.
It has roots in Hinduism, 4000 BC, in a deity lah, to a deity. So I don't know, like that. Yeah, I mean, it could be what you saw. I think
like that.
you can tell people now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's either that or an aswang. Werewolf, not very likely because
Yeah.
there needs to be transformation.
Yeah,
needs to
no,
be
no, no. It was
biting, right?
full on creature by the time.
Yeah.
I like that now because it also makes it sound a little less like it's one of my weaker supernatural stories where everybody was like, oh, so you got frightened by a big dog then? Is that what happened? Ooh, with its big red eyes, it was the size of me. It was a dog, man.
Yep.
But like, and I like that. I like that. The whole bit where it seemed like a blur to me. And next thing I know, I was at the crush action, and it fits so nicely into the Tikbalang mythology. I actually
Because-
like that.
Because actually, one of my story, my grandmother had an experience of that as well. But this time, it's not it didn't form as a horse-like figure, but it turned into. That's the reason why I kind of like went to that um, theory is because it it turned into a person that my grandmother knows.
Mm.
Oh.
Okay, so it turned into a someone that my grandmother know, my grandmother knows, and then my grandmother this person waved at my grandmother and hi Isidra, and then my grandmother waved back. So what happened was when she waved back, after a few seconds, literally a few seconds, she realizes that the person that she waved at is already dead. So when she said that, when she realized that, and she said this phrase here in the Philippines, which is called "sus marsipo." It's actually literally calling Jesus, Maria, and Joseph "sus marsipo." It it snapped her back to reality, and and she was already like three villages away from where she was. So maybe like you said a while ago that there's your one of your friend, the person that he saw waved at her, at
Waving.
him, I
Yeah.
mean. Yeah, if he waved back, I don't know what had happened. You're on mute. You're on
Yeah.
mute.
No, he thankfully didn't wave back. He just found it very strange that there was somebody waving to him from because he didn't know who this person was. So yeah, and he lives around that area as well.
Yes.
So if he had waved back, yeah, it's a good thing he didn't wave back then.
Yeah.
I mean, this
Kyle,
this this
oh,
was
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
sorry, yeah, this is a guy who like when I talk about like there was a lot of weird stuff going on around the area. His family had seen quite a fair bit of it. So I think
Yeah.
I think at that
Yeah.
point in time he was just like, yeah, I'm not just gonna wave at some stranger. Who knows what this could be?
Yep. I've
So
met
that
that
area.
guy.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I met the guy. The guy is creepy. I mean, I've met a lot of people with the sight, right? But this guy, he's for real, like legit. He can stare beyond your soul. Yeah, he has. You know that he has seen some really messed up stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I went to his place not knowing that. Thanks, Wayne.
Oh no,
not knowing.
no, don't worry, this was a different place.
Yeah,
This is a
right.
different
No, but not knowing that he had the sight, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I have the sight. I'm like, oh my god. Yeah, your house have? No, he said no. Okay. Yeah, but it is intense.
Yeah.
So does he? I mean, just a question, because here in the Philippines, people with the sight usually, like Sam, starting out, like JP, we tend to keep it to ourselves because we are mainly a Catholic country, Christian on the side also, but you're typically shunned if you say that you have that ability. How about in Singapore? Is it a little bit more accepted?
I think Singapore is a very, you guys been to Singapore and worked, some of you worked in Singapore. Singapore is a very secular society.
Yes.
But we are also a society that is very much in line with science. So I don't speak for the older generation, but I speak for my generation.
Thanks for waving at me when you say older generation.
The younger generations don't subscribe to paranormal. Even for me as well, right? Until I saw with my own eyes. So I feel like you won't get shunned. People will just feel that this guy is a little bit too superstitious for his own good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Actually, I have. Go ahead. Sorry, Wayne. Go
okay.
ahead.
So my like in back in my day, I've got a couple of friends who not just that one friend, but I know a couple of people who, they've told me that I'm more susceptible to this kind of thing. Like they haven't outright said I have the third eye, but like they will talk around it as like, oh yeah, I tend to have had more experiences than other people and that kind of thing. And while they won't say it, and some of them come from Catholic households as well. So, and it's not like their parents are like, no, don't say these kind of things. The parents don't want to talk about it, but they're
Yeah.
also not like chastising them for it. So I think it's a slight difference here where even in Catholic households where if you do have the sight, it's one of those things where we won't talk about it, but we're not gonna tell you to just brush it off or anything like that. But they kind of go like, "Yep, okay, cool."
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a good thing that the attitude there is a bit different compared to here, because again, for if it were to happen here and you would tell your parents that, they would say, "Oh, you've stopped going to church. That's why the demons
Yeah.
are coming after you." So it's a cliche. That's the reason for the masks.
No,
Well,
That's the reason for the
I
masks.
completely understand, and I think, yeah, and I mean, I empathize, but the way I see it, right? I used to think that people who claim that they have the sight, and I'm not saying they are not. They are most of them are fakes, right? And they just do it for attention, right? When you're young, you're a teenager, you want attention. But when you're an adult and you start telling people that I have the sight, please don't go there, and you start to question that maybe there's something that there's more that we can't understand. Maybe for now, right? Maybe the science is not there for us to understand. But I feel like for me, if I were to look at this whole gift, even not even just the sight, like the sixth sense,
Yes.
I think maybe certain humans are tuned. They are born with certain traits in their genes to allow them to see beyond the normal spectrum of what our eyes could perceive and our brains could perceive, and that could be feeling as well, right?
Yeah.
Animals also have that sixth sense, so
Yes.
I don't
Yes.
think that there's no science in it, and this is beyond religion, right? This is just human being made this way.
Yeah.
Genetics, DNA. We cannot understand it now, doesn't mean that we won't be able to understand it in the future, right? In the past, when you're looking at paranormal investigations, the things, the gadgets they use were pretty gimmicky. But now, like with the EMF, all this technology, you could actually get a certain amount of evidence that to prove that there is something like that. So yeah, I think that's my point of view on this
Oh,
whole
yeah.
thing.
I mean, I think it was could be wrong, but I think it was Arthur C. Clarke who said that anything, I'm paraphrasing heavily, but anything beyond human comprehension will always be seen as magic.
Yes.
Yes.
So it's, I mean, like, the only other thing I wanted to add to that was I gave my parents plenty of other reasons to believe that that's why I left church. So I didn't need like the third eye. They were like, "Oh, you left church because of this. Oh, see, this is what happens when you leave church." I gave them plenty of other reasons, so that was fine. But yeah, no, I always liked, and this is why Carl and I work together so well. Because I like that idea of, I think the general feeling is, look, we don't. It's arrogant of us to assume that we understand everything.
Yep.
Yes.
And people have asked us before, and I've said this a couple of times as well. But people have asked us before, like, do you believe in this stuff? And me and Carl always go, well, that's not really that important, is it? About whether we believe or not. I think
Yes.
there's a culture around it,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
whatever it is, even if you don't believe specifically in the supernatural, you have to be respectful of that culture.
Yep.
Yes.
So that respectfulness, I think it at its core stems from our love of how this is so much a part of the culture.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just thankful that that's not one of the reasons why my parents was like, "Oh, this is why you went to church."
Personally, I think from your stories, Kyle, from your stories, I think you have that sensitivity as well. The way that it's very similar to the stories that sensitive people tell us, that when they go into a room, they know it's a bad room. They just skedaddle and go out. Or they know when they go into a room. I'm not sure if you feel that as well. Sometimes when they go into a room, they kind of feel its history. I'm not sure if that's the same aspect for you, but I think you have that sensitivity in that aspect of your
Yeah.
empathy. Yeah.
Yeah. So sort of like a mind's eye, right? Yeah.
Yes, in your mind's eye.
Uh,
Yes.
Yeah. So the logical part of me is trying to block it out and saying that, look, just over imaginating. You're a filmmaker, you think too much, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes it may prove you wrong. right? Life may prove you wrong. So I'm becoming more acceptant of what it is. Yeah. But I'm still very much agnostic in that sense that I still need some form of evidence or documentation until I can actually say that, okay, look, this exists. Like, for example, that possession case, and I saw it, I was like, oh man, this is real.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do agree with you to some extent.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, can I tell a story? Let's
Yes,
recall.
go
I
ahead.
have a short, very short story that actually happened when I was in the Philippines. This is more than 10 years ago, 2011 actually, when I was still studying, and I did some NGO work. And we have a lecturer who is from the Philippines, so she brought us there to do some NGO work for the Smoky Mountains, right? And we were based in Quezon City. I remember clearly. And 2011, they had one of the worst typhoon. We
Yes.
almost didn't make it back to Singapore. Everywhere was flooded. So we were staying in the hostel. Luckily, the hostel was well barricaded, so we were still safe. But as typhoon goes, stormy, it's dark. There's a lot of rain. I didn't see it myself. Apparently, the hostel is pretty clean. There's no like ghosts or anything. But one of my mates who went on the trip, this girl, she's a Malay girl, and she saw Miss P hanging on the tree outside of her room, just staring at her in the rain, and she told everybody. And I was like, cannot be, because Miss P is from Malaysia and Indonesia. She cannot be in Philippines. This does not make sense. And she's like, how would I know? She's Miss P to me. And apparently she does, from time to time she can see. And yeah, so I think the teacher did some prayers, Catholic prayers, and after that she changed room or something. So after speaking to you guys and after doing my own research, right, I think it's the lady in white that was visiting her. But I don't know why during a typhoon, which is very strange. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not sure if the others will chime in, but I have a feeling that wasn't a lady in white, but more of a. The aswangs have been known to also stay in the trees
Yeah.
sometimes, not during storms, but people. Most of the stories here of aswangs also sometimes they see them lingering around trees and roofs. I'm not sure, JP or Sam, if you wanna say something about that.
Yeah, there
Where
are a
is
lot
this
of
again?
stories that
Quezon City,
Philippines.
tama.
Quezon
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 City.
City.
Quezon
Where in
City.
Quezon City? Do you
Would you
remember?
know?
I don't remember, man.
Okay, so yeah, in Quezon City,
Outskirts.
at least
I think outskirts. So
outskirts.
if you know where Smoky Mountain is, somewhere
Yeah,
closer to that area. Yeah.
probably near my area. I think it's like my area, Smoky Mountains, a bit closer, and there are a lot of stories of like the White Lady, the Aswangs. Yeah, and Quezon City is known for being forested, so I'm not surprised. You have a
Yeah.
lot of old trees, so yeah.
Nice.
What other stories have you heard? Aside from that, in the Philippines, did you have other experiences that kind of shocked you, or was that it?
I mean, not really lah. But I think the last time I was in the Philippines was Manila. I think 2018. Was there for
Mm.
another project. I stayed alone in my hotel. Felt super creeped out by my hotel. But
Do you
at this
remember the
point,
name?
I'm not gonna say it.
Okay.
I can share it with you later offline. I don't want to
Okay.
get I don't want to get you guys in trouble actually. Yeah, it's a
Okay.
pretty famous hotel. It's in Manila, downtown Manila, right? So I remember staying in this room, and this project took me around Southeast Asia, like legit. I traveled non-stop, and I was pretty much like fearless by then because I've been to one of the most haunted ones in Myanmar. Yeah, that was really creepy. I actually left early because I was so creeped out by that room. And Philippines, I could feel there was something there, but I was like, yeah, I don't really care. I'm not afraid anymore because I don't feel that it's very malicious. But for the Myanmar one, it was super malicious. Yeah, but other than it, being stormy throughout the shoot days that I were there. But most of the time I was out, and I was back in the hotel room, I was either drinking or I was just watching a movie or something. So I didn't really care about what's going on around me. So yeah, not really a ghost story, but more of like a
Yeah.
feeling. Because I feel like every hotel, there are entities. They're just like passing
Yes,
through
yes.
rooms. Like
Yeah.
yeah. So yep.
Kyle, when you say that, sorry, I'm just trying to decipher your the way you feel about things. But when you said that in the Philippines, you're pretty sure it wasn't malicious, but in Myanmar it was malicious.
Mm,
Did it come to you in your mind's eye? Were you able to see an
no.
entity with or you just felt that okay, I feel
I
something malicious here?
Okay. So okay. So if you're asking, I let me tell you the story, right?
Okay.
So in Myanmar, this particular hotel is way out of the city center. It's surrounded by forests, and it's very out of the way. So, but we did it to save production costs, right? So and this room, and this was the second room that I got because I changed the room. Is right behind the elevator, so there's no windows. You know what they say about rooms without windows?
Yes, yes.
Bad feng shui, because there's no
Light.
light going in. It's
Yes.
purely dark most of the time. What got me was when we entered the lift, there was like a flower hanging already. So it's like some Buddhist flower to bless it. And I left. I got the bellboy to bring my stuff up, and before he entered, I swear to God, he knocked, opened the door, and he didn't step in. He looked.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, it's one of those rooms, isn't it? And then he went in, he on the lights. Initially, he wanted me to go in. He said, yeah. Then I'm like, no.
Yeah.
He went in, on the lights, and I looked around. I could smell a fussy, musky smell, right? But that wasn't it. It was a huge room. There were like at least 5 beds, and it's one of me. And there was a kitchen. There's a toilet. I don't understand why is it so big, and there's no window. And my clients come first, so they got the good rooms. I got the bad room, right? So, I felt very very uneasy. I could feel that this room is. If I stay in this room, my gut feeling is telling me, if I stay in this room, I would definitely see something at night. And I'm like, no, I need to get out of here. So I told him there was a really weird smell. I don't like the smell. Let me change room. And he changed for me. Second room. Better. But you could still feel, right? You could still feel like, this hotel is really bad, man. Like, it's almost in every hotel. Not too many beds. I think 3 beds this time. So I had no choice. And honestly, I don't want to spend extra money to change room, because he said that if you want to change, you change. You have to pay. I'm like, I don't want to pay because I'm only here for 3 nights. Then I was like, okay, I did the only thing that I'm trained to do. I changed the layout of the room to one that I feel that will protect me. So
The positions, yeah.
yeah, the positions, right? So I slept right next to the door. The bed right next to the door. The other 2 beds, I fill them with stuff so that they won't be empty. Then I put a chair right next to my bed, forming like a fort. And I put my laptop on like a stand on my bed. I put the TV straight right to my bed. I on every single light. And I slept. I tried to sleep, but at least, right? So I changed the feng shui in a sense. And
Yes.
my sister, she's actually religious, so she got me. She knew that I was going on this trip, so they got me like a Japanese Buddhist beads. She said, even if you don't believe, bring it. So I bring it. For the first time, I took it out. I hung it on the bed, and then I went to sleep. Yeah, I didn't got disturbed, but I could feel there was something there. I can feel the whole night there was something there. But I didn't care because I remember I owned KBS. It was blasting Korean dramas the whole night. I just slept. And next day I went to shoot. I woke up at 6 a.m. Went to shoot. First to reach the lobby. Went to shoot.
Yeah.
And then we were done by the day. I was like, oh, and my clients were going back to Singapore. Because this was the last leg. going back to Singapore. Before we went to another country, I think before we went to Vietnam and Philippines. So I was like, oh my god, I have to spend a night alone in this hotel. Like they will go back to Singapore. I have to be alone. I don't want to be
Yes.
alone. And what I did was I bought tickets to for another flight with them back to Singapore, and it cost me $300 just to go back earlier with them because I got scared. I was like, I don't think I can last. I think I will see something and I don't want to see anything. I was like, okay, I know better, right? So let me buy a ticket and let's just go home. And I told my producer about this story. I was like, you see, you put me through this kind of thing. It's really damn bad.
You know what the takeaway for a lot of people is going to be from the story, right?
Yep.
The takeaway is going to be Ghost Maps guys suggest using K dramas to protect from spirits.
It may backfire on you, right? If you play in Japan, you definitely get backfire. If there's
yeah.
Japanese spirits, right? Because there's some World War II feel, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. So
Actually, we had. I'm not sure. Again, this is depending on your belief, but I'm kind of in the same boat as both of you. That I grew up Catholic, but eventually I shifted, and same as you, Kyle, that I just pray to God, to whoever that being is. I don't have to follow other beliefs or go to church and all of that. And one of the people we've talked to, she's been in this field for around 40 years. Her name is Miss Star. She is a psychic as well. And we asked her, of course I want to get some tips. So we asked her, what's your tip for protection? What's like a band-aid, first aid kit? And she told us whenever she goes abroad and when she's in a hotel room, there are always people in the hotel room, she told us. She has, I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but she carries around rock salt and black tourmaline. It's like a black stone. And being a person who's experienced stuff, she told me just put it in the four corners of your bed, and you won't be bothered. Of course, if you need to pray or to do anything to protect yourself for protection, just do it. But the four corners with salt and black tourmaline work. So every time I have these talks also with people I don't know, I always have that with me also with me here, just in case. So I'm not sure if you've. Oh, I'll segue quickly to that. Here in the Philippines, I think it's a Southeast Asian. JP can back me up on this,
Mm.
but uh, we have some kind of rituals, like let's say talismans. Have you heard of stories over there in Singapore where people have used talismans that may protect them from
yep.
harm, protect them from stuff like that?
Yep. Allegedly, talismans are either used. They are drawn by deities or like tankies. They are basically charms to protect you from thing, but they are expirable.
Yes, yes,
They're like cigarettes, right? If you
yeah,
don't use them for a while, they lose their taste. So a
yes.
lot of people in Singapore, they do have talisman on their wallet. Is as a Chinese person, it's very common to see it in someone's wallet to protect them, but it will lose its power over time. So what people will do is if they have an ancestral table or like a deity or go to the temple, they will leave it at the place where you put all the incense to recharge its
Mm-hmm.
energy, so that it becomes spiritually powerful again. Or you can just ask for one. The most powerful ones are when a deity is possessing someone, like the Tanki, and it will use the blood of the human to draw the charms. Those are the most powerful charms. I've seen it firsthand to do exorcisms and
Ah,
stuff.
really?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
very strong. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's very
Yeah.
hard to get.
Yes. Yes. Same here. This is same here. As we wrap up, I think we've taken up a lot of your time, but as we wrap up, I just want to ask JP again, just to relate it back to back to over there in Singapore. So JP's gone around that area. So JP, I'm just
Nice.
gonna go through the notes you sent me. So when JP goes around Singapore, he goes to the non usual places. Am I right, JP?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's been to How Par Villa. The 10 halls of hell.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, care to tell us about that, JP?
See, I know Kyle and Wayne know this, but there's stories that when you go through the 10 um halls of hell, you'll hear noises. I guess because, one, it's very conducive. You're like entering a tunnel. So all the outside noise is canceled out. And you see these diagrams. And they don't look like real people, but the act of knowing that, being culturally from that side of the world, that this is the concept of hell, stuff gets into your mind, and you start hearing noises, you start hearing screeching, you start hearing like people walking around, you start hearing metal sharpening somewhere here and there, you hear chanting, and it's really creepy. And I remember bringing some of my mainland Chinese friends there, and they were so scared to go in. And I was like taking pictures, and they're like, "You sure you want to take pictures?" I'm like, no harm, no foul. As long as I know my lane, they know their lane, then I guess we're fine. Nothing happened to me, but a lot of my Filipino friends who said some shit inside that tunnel did bring home some stuff. Yeah.
Oh, like what? Can I ask? What
Yeah.
did they
Um.
bring?
So remember Nick in my interview, my friend Alan, who
Mhm.
So this was Ghost Month.
Oh yeah, you go tell
Major-
that story also.
yeah, we were living in the dorms in NTU, and some of my friends who are Vietnamese, who are mainland Chinese, wanted to have dinner, so we went to Jurong Point. So Alan, who's another Filipino, wanted to walk the whole stretch going back to NTU from Jurong Point. I'm like, guys, I can't leave this guy alone, especially during Ghost Month. He doesn't know what's gonna happen. So okay, we start walking,
Mm.
and we pass by Dao Tiangong Temple. It's the one on the expressway, I think. But you pass it when you're going back to NTU the back way.
Mm.
And he hears the performances. He's curious. And I'm like, my mom calls me. So I'm like, Alan, just stay here. I just have to talk to my mom.
Mm.
Next thing I know, there's this old man shouting at my friend, like in Hokkien. And I can barely understand Hokkien, but what I could hear was botwa bosway. No big, no small. So Nick, that's what Hokkien aunties and uncles or the elders tell little boys and girls who break the rules. It literally means no big, no small. So you don't
Mhm.
respect your seniority.
Yes.
So I dropped the call with my mom, and Alan I see sitting on the first row, which you're not supposed to sit on. I'm like, so the uncle basically pushes him out of the temple, and I like apologize to the uncle. I'm like, Uncle, he's Filipino, he doesn't understand the traditions, and the uncle basically tells me, bring incense, and he hands me just paper and hell money. So
Mm.
he just tells me just in case something follows your friend, because most likely it will. You like he just asked me, you know how to use these, right? Like, yeah, I use it in the Philippines. So walk back to the dorm, and the next day we have accounting class. So I'm reviewing from 11 p.m. to 3 p.m. 3 a.m. And at 3:30 there's somebody knocking on my door. I mean, it's like a really panic knock, and I open my door, and it's my friend Alan, sweating like hell, and he's a bit darker than me, but he's white as bond paper. So he asked me, "Can you go to my room and check under my bed because it keeps moving? Like something is underneath the bed." I'm like, "Okay, it can't be a monkey because my room is the one facing the jungle right now. So if there's some room with a monkey, that's supposed to be mine." Check under his bed. It's a silhouette of a small kid. I'm like, "Alan, let's go outside and you burn these." And he's literally shaking while he's like burning the incense, burning the dust paper, and he's like, can we stay outside until it finishes? I'm like, fine, okay, but we have class at 7 a.m. So, you know, let me take a short power nap. And when things are done, he's like, can you walk me back to my room? And Alan is bigger than me. He's 5'10", and he's a bodybuilder. So I'm like, okay, this is the first time I see a bodybuilder getting scared to go back to the room. And he asked me, can you check under the bed if it's gone? I'm like, it's gone. And he asked me to sleep in his room. I'm like, Alan, I want my bed. I want my bed, Alan. Yeah.
Oh man.
Man.
Yeah.
So did it leave in the end?
It left him, but now he lives in Singapore with his wife, and he practices Hungry Ghost Month now. Even if he's Catholic, even if he never practiced it a day in his life, he was sending me pictures like, "Oh, am I doing this right?" I'm like, "Yeah, Alan, you're doing it right. Good job."
It's like when we, I think it was when we were recording Dead Air in during Hungry Ghost Month this year, and so like just to be safe, because where we record Dead Air is like we purposely don't say where exactly it is,
Yeah.
but it's
Yes,
a famously creepy place in Singapore, and
I'll tell you guys offline.
yeah,
Okay.
and so Kyle's like, okay, we're gonna be talking about stuff down here. Our guest that night was specifically gonna be talking about Miss P, and we were like, okay, you know what? Let's just Kyle being the reasonable person was like, we're gonna go down, we're gonna burn some incense. I was like, okay, and I have no idea what I'm doing. I like all I know is just hold it and then like,
Yeah. Thanks.
and I'm facing the road and Kyle's behind me like he's partying there. And then behind me I just hear after a while Kyle going, hey, how long you wanna do that? Just put the thing down lah. I don't know how long I'm supposed to do this. You tell me lah. He's like, okay, put down, okay.
It was during it was a double because it was during Hungry Ghost Month and it was Friday the 13th at the same time. Extra strong.
Bad luck.
Yeah, that's extremely bad. But we tell Dead Air on 13, so
Yeah.
you know. And yeah, so I had to respect lah, you know. Some more at that part of Singapore is very, very haunted. So we have to play safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, before we end, Kyle, Wayne, do you want to tell us
Yes.
about the live you're going to have this weekend?
Well, how much do we want to reveal? I will
Not
tease
yet.
a little
Okay,
bit.
I'll let you decide. I'll let you decide.
Okay. If you feel like you want to jump in and reveal some more, then
Sure,
so be it.
sure.
Okay, so this weekend, 31st Halloween, we're gonna have another episode of Dead Air. We normally have Dead Air on the 13th of every month, but this month, it's Halloween, so we thought, okay, let's have an episode of Dead Air on Halloween. B, we'll probably make the announcement this Friday. But we have something else that's coming up as well. It's not Dead Air. It's not.
It's a new show.
Ghost Maps. It's a new show.
Oh,
See, like I said, I'll let him jump in. We won't give out the details just yet.
Okay.
Alright, yeah.
But on Friday we'll probably make the announcement about what it's particularly about, and the first episode will be going live on hopefully 31st, right?
Yep.
And see, he clearly also handles the schedules of this stuff.
31st, yeah.
Yeah. So 31st, the episode will be going live. And like I said, Friday we'll make the announcement and we'll give out the details. But that's what this bonus episode of Dead Air is for. One, it's yay, Halloween. The other reason is that we wanted to talk about this new show that we're doing, and we wanted to sort
Exactly.
of like
yeah.
director and writer's commentary to that as well.
Yep.
So that's going to be
Oh.
happening this Sunday, 31st of October, Halloween.
Yep.
Fun
times.
What's our it's gonna be on Facebook
And
and
YouTube.
Okay.
It's our usual place. We are Hantu, WEAREHANTU.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. And of course, I'd like to thank you, the both of you, for coming here and accepting our invitation.
Thank you
given
for
the late
inviting
time.
us.
Thank
This
you.
was so much fun,
No,
guys.
no, it's fun.
Yes,
Really.
yeah, it is actually very fun. We can
when
do
you-
this again once you're not so busy.
Yeah, when,
For
when,
sure, man.
when
Yeah.
you said you were wrapping up, I was like, that wasn't that long. Then I looked over, I was like, oh, it's been 2 hours. Okay, fine. Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Yep.
It's been 2 hours. But thank you for everyone who tuned in. Thank you to our past guests who dropped by. Sam and JP also, thank you. Thank
Nice
you,
to
Kyle
meet
and
you
Wayne.
guys.
I hope to
Thank
see you
you.
guys
Nick.
again. Okay,
Good
see you guys.
night.
Good night.
Good night,
Bye.
good night.
Guys.
Bye-bye.